DeVon Franklin, always a man of faith, is a force in Hollywood as a producer, best-selling author, and motivational speaker. Now he has taken his visionary energy to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences as a governor for the Oscars. And as you might guess, he is shaking things up. Say hi to DeVon Franklin. Hey everybody, Tanya Hart here. So glad you're tuning into Hollywood Live. Well, we've got a really special show today. You know, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, yep, that's the Oscar folks. They have a new series of virtual panels for members and for people just like the rest of us, regular folks that you can tune into. It is called Academy Dialogues. It starts with us, with conversations about race, ethnicity, gender, history, opportunity, and the art of filmmaking. I think I got all of that in. Well, my guest today is a part of the dialogue. He is Academy Governor, film and TV producer, author, and I could go on and on and on, but you know him, you love him. It's DeVon Franklin. How are you?
I'm good, Tanya. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Always good to see you. I think the last time we spoke, and I actually saw you, was on the red carpet at the Oscars this year. We did a great piece. Congratulations on that nomination.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Thank you.
Unbelievable. It was, but you know, a lot of fun. So let's just jump into this because there is just a lot to talk about. First of all, I've listened to the Academy series. It is wonderful. How did you come up with this idea? Because certainly it's timely.
Yeah, you know, it actually wasn't my idea. It was Sean Finney, who is, you know, one of the executives at the Academy. He's on the staff there, you know, young brother, really incredible. He's been, you know, helping with membership and now just recently got a promotion. And so it was his idea, really. I mean, you know, he ran with it. When we were talking about, you know, diversity and inclusion, we talked about this idea of like needing to facilitate these type of conversations. But then Sean was the one that kind of put it together and has run with it, which is great. And I was just so fortunate to participate in one of the episodes where it was myself and Franklin Leonard and Deborah Martin Chase and Phil's son. And so, you know, just as a governor and just as a, you know, a member of this Hollywood community, I'm all about facilitating the conversation that can hopefully bring, you know, more change and inclusion to the business.
Well, and thank you for doing that. And you've always done that. You know, you've been the head of a studio. You've done so many things, but let's just be real. We can Black Lives Matter all we want. But at the end of the day, when are we going to be able to greenlight some movies? What is that going to take?
You know, I mean, Tanya, look, here's the reality. We are in a Hollywood is undergoing one of the most significant changes in the history of the business. And that change is not racial, it's financial. You know, when you look at the impact of COVID-19 on the movie business, when you look at the growth of streaming, when you look at the consolidation and all that's happening right now, every studio, every media company is doing what they can do to readjust to the changing landscape. There are layoffs going on all around town. You know, everyone's kind of reorienting a lot of their companies around streaming, distribution, marketing, publicity, you know, departments are being collapsed. Why this is so important and relevant to your conversation is that as much as I would tell you and want to be able to report that in Hollywood, you know, the goal is number one priority around inclusion and representation, that's just not true. The number one goal right now is around, you know, survival, around figuring out this new world order. So what happens in my experience and in my opinion is that when can a Black person ultimately get a chance to greenlight a film? I wish I could tell you I believe that day was sooner than it may actually be. Because when you look at the current studio structure, when you look at the current system, no matter, even with these challenges that we're facing relative to COVID, when you look at, you know, UCLA did a report recently and you know, 91% pretty much of all senior executives in Hollywood are white. And so when you look at those who actually greenlight, you know, pictures, they're obviously white. So it's not that we won't get there, but when remains to be seen. I mean, we are seeing change across the business. You look at Alana Mayo, you know, who just got a division at MGM. She's running Orion Pictures, and she has the ability to make her own pictures and greenlight her own pictures, from what I understand, which is great. You know, when you look at, you know, Tendo Nagenda at Netflix, and he certainly, you know, is in the upper echelons of leadership there. And there's so many other executives But by and large, I believe that we as people of color still have a long way to go to really get equity and to have true power in this business.
Well, one of the conversation that you led with some of my favorite people on that panel
Yeah.
was about how we continue to have to work outside of the framework of Hollywood, because that's really how we've all gotten over and have lasted, to be honest. Even though you've been with the studio, even though Deborah Martin Chase, like she has started out, working with the great Frank Price and all that, but at the end of the day, we've all had to go outside of the box to
Yeah.
exist.
It's
So,
true. It's true.
yeah. So that being said, what should we be doing during this era while everybody is trying to figure out how they're going to continue to exist and make money? I see this as an opportunity. What is it we need to be doing now to continue that outside of the box that becomes our box of playing ground?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think that, you have to, what we should be doing as, as Black people, specifically, in the world of entertainment, we should continue to create. We should continue to innovate. We should continue to perpetuate the promise that we all know is possible, which is not only a country that, gives everyone equal opportunity, but a business that does the same. And so we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep going. We have to keep being vocal. We cannot allow even the status quo to become our status quo. We have to continue to, even in the face of adversity, even in the face of resistance, keep going and keep pushing and keep moving and saying, no, we're not going to accept this. This is what we want. We are in a time where we can chart our course. Doesn't mean that course is going to be smooth. It's like you can chart your course, but you're going to hit some waves. Things are going to get rocky. The question is, do we stay the course? So we as a people in this business have to chart the course and then stay the course. And I believe
one thing that the Academy is, not to interrupt you, but one thing the Academy has done is they've changed their rules about, submissions. Now it hasn't actually gone into effect just yet, but they're doing things like, if a movie is going to be submitted as a possible Oscar nominee, they have to have a certain percentage of people of color working not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera. This is kind of like a no-brainer that, we all should have been doing years ago. But finally, and it's always, you got to change the rules and the laws to make these things happen, because otherwise they're just not going to. So I do applaud the Academy for doing that. Like I said, it hasn't gone into effect, but just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a blessing to be able to co-chair the task force that, helped push through and to get this initiative at the Academy voted on and accepted, and now in the process of being implemented. And so these new representation and inclusion standards, the thing about it is that there's a lot of flexibility. So, there's 4 different pillars and there's multiple ways that you can qualify for one of the pillars based upon hitting, a wide variety of the subset of the standards. And so it's not that every movie that submits for Best Picture consideration has to have a diverse crew, but we have 4 different, there's one standard for in front of the camera, one standard from behind the camera, another standard for programs at the studio or financier, and another standard for the marketing and publicity department. So we try to, in crafting them, cover, all of the main areas in our business, but we also want to make sure there was flexibility and making sure that, all different types of movies can get made, all stories can be told, yet we wanted to make sure that every person that's telling a story would then still think about, if we can't get inclusion in front of the camera, because let's say we're telling a period story where no inclusion existed. Okay, we can now look at it behind the camera. We can now make sure the studio is doing. We can now do this in the marketing department. So again, it's not a perfect set of standards, but it is a progressive set of standards.
Yeah, I've got to ask you because, obviously COVID has affected everyone. And the last time we spoke at the Oscars this year, just like it's hard to believe it was this year, you were so excited about your movie that you were working on. And I think was it about the taco guy?
No, well, yeah, that movie. Yes. I'm casting that movie as we speak. It's called Flamin' Hot, not the taco guy. His name was Richard Montanez. He created Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Oh, Cheetos. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Had something to do with some food. so anyway, so how are you pulling all of this off now? Because that was something that you were working on. Like you said, you're casting now. So tell us how this is all working for you.
It's working well. I mean, we're doing the casting right now virtually. We're doing it through Zoom, and so because obviously because everything's going COVID, and but we're moving forward. We're working on the budget. We're working on the script. So it's a different environment, but movies still need to get made, and people want movies. So studios are navigating COVID and really working to keep everything safe, but to still get the audience what they want, which is more content.
Yeah. And DeVon, do the theater system though, as we know it, I don't know how that's going to exactly survive. I mean, they don't either. But you've been around for a minute now. What do you think about that? And what do you think maybe should happen that could help them survive?
I mean, the challenge, I mean, survival is really, it's almost, you have to look at it like momentary, and then you have to look at it long term, right? So in the moment, the issue is capital, cash flow, that you have a business in terms of the theatrical business, which is very dependent on consistent cash flow, and they're very expensive. Their overhead is enormous. And so some of these theaters, the longer we go when theaters are not open, the harder it is for those theaters to hold on. However, in my opinion, it's a momentary problem. Audiences love to go to the movie theater.
Yeah, they do.
Period. End of story. And when theaters come back and it's safe to go, audiences are going to return. The question is going to be how many theaters and how many theater chains will still be around when audiences are ready to go. But I do believe that the theatrical business is going to come back. It's going to come back bigger. It's going to come back booming, because audiences do not want all their content at the house. They just don't. Right now, if parents could get out and go, they would do it.
Oh, yeah.
If they could go to the movie theater and take their kids, they would go. So I personally think that the conclusion that some are drawing in Hollywood, that the theatrical business is over, is the wrong conclusion. I think that there's a moment now where it's going through a tough spot, and we got to do what we can do to help keep it alive, keep it, get it off of life support. But the moment that it's safe, I believe that people are going back to theaters in droves to see all different types of movies.
And that being said, that the content that you create, and people like Deborah Martin Chase, one of the things that she said in this Academy conversation with you, which I'm just telling everybody, we'll give them all of the links where they can go and check this out, because it's fascinating stuff and it's real. Y'all get real in these.
Yes, we do. You have to be very real.
It's very real. And what she said was so real is that, one of the things that never really happens, and you can talk about diversity and inclusion all you want, but we're not included in the parties. We don't socialize with these people who run the studios, and you can be a DeVon Franklin, but I'm so sure you don't get invited to all of the parties and out to the, at the golf club and to go play with. I mean, I just know that doesn't usually happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's not about trying to make people like you or anything like that. We all want respect, but there is a certain thing about camaraderie and always hiring the people that because they can do a good job. I'm down with that, but we're not included in that. What do we do about that? The socializing part of it.
Here's what I would say. That in many instances, that is a reality. And in many instances, when you become aware of that reality, it can be demoralizing on some level, because you recognize, oh, wow, not necessarily being treated, in the same way. And so my way of dealing with that, and what I would recommend, is that, we have to, no matter who sees something for us, we have to see it for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So no matter who invites us, we still have to say, okay, I'm not going to let the sting of that disappointment get me out of chasing my destiny in this business. I'm not going to let how someone sees me impact how I see myself. And as a people in this business, we have to stay focused on why we're here. We're here because, one, we have we're artists in some way, and creatives, and have something to say and to create. But also, there are people out there that you know, think about the power of film. Think about the power of entertainment. Think about how minds and hearts are shaped every day by this business. And so if we don't persist in doing what we're called to do and pursuing our destiny, we may miss out on the one life we need to impact and influence the most. That because they saw one of our shows or movies, they see, oh, there's hope. I don't have to go this way, I can go that way. And that one moment of hope changed not only the trajectory of their life, but changed all the generations that come from that person. So even if we don't get the invite to the house, to the party, we have to resist the temptation to internalize that to the degree where we don't go after what we know is rightfully ours. And in my experience, that I truly, from this business standpoint, I don't even worry about what happens socially. Like I don't work on socializing as a means of this business. There's a lot of people that do. A lot of people, like, part of being in this business is the social aspect of it. I have never played the game socially, never. I just, it's not who I am. It's just not what I do. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it on my work, and I'm going to let my work speak for itself. Why do I do that? Because the social part of it and the invitation is out of my control. Yeah. I can't control who decides to invite me where and who doesn't. But what I can control is how I work, my attitude, my disposition, my hope, my vision. And I do believe that us as people of color, and then when you look at all of the other underrepresented groups that still fight for equity and inclusion, if we keep our eyes focused on the impact we can make in this business, if we keep working and we keep unifying, we will see change no matter who chooses to invite us or not. And I would also, what I also do is try to appeal to white men and women that are in power to say, hey, look, come on. Hollywood is a very liberal place, right? Politically, it's a very liberal place. Politically. So, okay, if we're liberal politically, then we have to let that idea of being liberal, which is we want a country that's inclusive with equal opportunity for everyone, then I try to hold white men and women in power accountable for that, to say, if that's how you vote in the world, then what about voting that way in this industry? What about helping create the change? And so much of it, Tanya, is not about through pointing the finger. It's not about, in my opinion, people never make great decisions when they're defensive.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
They make great decisions when they feel, one, they have perspective. Two, they feel like they're a part of the process. And three, they feel like they know how to create a solution. So when it comes to changing this business, it is working with the power structure to a degree. You can work outside the power structure, right? Like a Tyler Perry, who's done an amazing job of creating his own thing. That's great. And you can work inside the power structure to really help, change the hearts and minds of those in power to really be more about inclusion and representation. So that, to me, that's the invitation that matters the most. Whether or not someone gets invited to someone's house, that is what it is. But invited to the table of opportunity, that's the invitation that we want. And that's the invitation we have to keep seeking and pushing for.
And that's true. And that's the one we keep creating for ourselves. I do want people to know, part of your always on point perspective, which is the way I look at your perspective, it's always on point.
Thank you.
Part of that is because you're a minister. Mm-hmm. And you came to this business in kind of a spiritual way, and we don't need to go into all of that. But being a minister and looking at the world and the pandemic that, is apparently now spiking, and who knows what's going to happen. They don't have a vaccine. We're looking to be in this we could be in this time next year for all we know. What would be your advice to give people just to how to hang on? Because it's hard to hang on some days.
Sure. I think the number one thing that we're experiencing, which sometimes works against, the idea of hanging on, is fear. Mm-hmm. Why are cases spiking? Out of fear. And here's what I mean by that. Some people wear a mask, some people don't, right? Some people wear a mask because they're afraid, I'm gonna get the virus. Some people don't wear the mask. Does that mean that they aren't afraid? No. Some people are so afraid that they need to live in the reality that I don't need to do this because I'm gonna be fine. Or it doesn't matter, or the scientists are wrong, or fill in the blank. But the root of that, I believe, is fear. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What happens if I acknowledge that this is real? Oh, I then have to change my behavior. Oh, got it, right? So in terms of where we are, we're afraid. What's going to happen in the future? What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen to our kids? What's going to happen to our economy? What's going to happen to our businesses? Fear is really the undercurrent that nobody is really addressing.
Yeah.
The thing that I would encourage anyone, when you talk about moving forward and how we do it, everyone has to do their own inventory of their own fear. What am I really afraid of? And what is the fear inside of me I'm not ready to face? Because it's very hard to go forward in faith of any kind if you allow our fear, you and I allow our fear to go unchecked. So that's the first thing. What are we afraid of? The second thing, we have to know that as a people, we and I say people, I mean as a humankind, human race, humanity, we are resilient. This virus, the potency of this virus, I believe is no match for the resiliency of our humanity. And we have to continue to align around that. We have to believe in that. We have to be vigilant. You know, I do believe we should listen to scientists and wear the mask and come together and do what we can do to eradicate this virus and in the process, unleash the power of our humanity, where we care about one another more than ever before. We are our brothers and sisters' keeper. We operate in love because those are the things. The virus is going to go eventually, whether it's years from now or not. The virus is going to go. We are going to remain. So what is the condition that we will be in when it's over is up to us. And I think if we would take more of that on, to me, that's the path to hope. That's the path to healing. That's the path to our future.
Sounds like a good plan to me. This is why you are who you are and why you've been able to do the things you have. I just want to leave everybody because the Academy series is just wonderful.
Yeah,
I've not really heard or seen anything quite like this. I mean, COVID brought it on and made it possible, I guess, to do because it is a virtual situation. Where can people go to listen to the Academy series?
They can go to the Academy website. They can also go to YouTube, our Academy page on YouTube, and you can watch all of the series. There's a number of episodes in the Academy Dialogue series, some incredible, I mean, literally like
incredible.
You can just go and you can just spend the whole day listening to incredible conversations that will absolutely just inspire you, inform you, and captivate you for sure.
Yep. And it's great for young people who are trying to get into this business because the business has changed. So I highly suggest any young person or older person who's trying to get into the business, listen to these dialogues. They are amazing. And so are you, DeVon Franklin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So are you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Can you come back? Oh, absolutely. We probably get out our Oscar piece that we included you in and maybe run that alongside of this as well. And so come back and we'll come back and talk to you. When do you think you might have the movie ready for a junket or something?
Oh, wow. Well, that's going to be probably not until next year, but I am hosting AURN's Christmas special with my wife, and I'm hosting their junket on November 12th, I think it is.
Okay. I will check that out. Definitely.
Yeah.
DeVon Franklin, everybody. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My absolute pleasure. Anything for you.
Absolutely.